Satisfying ambition while celebrating family. That's what you call a win-win, especially for Mike James, CEO and founder of Frederick Benjamin Grooming, a multicultural men's grooming brand based in Harlem, NYC. After making the move from down south to uptown, Mike has seen success as an executive at luxury cosmetic brands Revlon and L'Oreal, and as a pioneer in an industry desperate for the innovative yet simple men's grooming products that he creates. This is Hire Hair. Mike, thanks for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you here. So let's start at the very beginning. You know, like this is a question I feel like I've never actually asked you in all the time that we've known each other, but what made you get into the grooming industry? Why did you choose a career in this field?
Oh, well, so I started in the beauty care category with Revlon right out of business school. And to be honest with you, I did an internship with Colgate-Palmolive. My first foray into brand management, I was marketing floor soap and Ajax. Great experience for the summer, but as I was looking at job opportunities out after business school, Revlon was one of the options. So it was go back and market dish soap and floor cleaner, or go into a sexy industry like Revlon. And so for me, I just knew beauty care, something about beauty care was enticing in terms of just being able, the constant flow of new products, an exciting category, working with an image-based company, and moving to New York. All those things were appealing, so it was just the job opportunities. It was banking, it was consumer products, it was beauty care. So New York was high on my list, and Revlon seemed like a great fit. And so, but I had no idea I was going to end up in this category. It was just, let's go to business school and try to figure it out. And it's turned out to be a great fit.
Tell me about the early days at Revlon. What was it like working for this large multinational cosmetic giant?
Yeah, that was like my first corporate job. So there was quite a bit of a learning curve. Not so much on the work side, but on the soft social side. I mean, it was a company dominated by women, not too many minorities, and then men. How
do you think that set you up for when you eventually transitioned and moved on to L'Oreal?
Tremendously, because brand management is very much a numbers game. People look at marketing as what advertisers or advertising agencies will do, right? Coming up with great concepts, doing shoots like this, and then going out to advertising. But there's, to run a business or to run a brand, I mean, it's very numbers driven. And that experience cemented my analytical skills. So when I got to L'Oreal, it was more, L'Oreal has a different type of format for their brand managers. It's more beauty, I won't say, it's more creative, if you will. They have business teams, right, that crunch the numbers, that do your P&Ls and things of that nature. So I kind of came in with those skills, and then with L'Oreal, I was able to kind of work on the soft skills or the visual skills and crafting stories and things of that nature. So both of those experiences, I think, kind of balanced each other out and set me on a path for being able to kind of build my own business.
What made you leave L'Oreal in the first place? Sounds like you were, kind of growing there, you were developing.
I saw this opportunity for men's business. I mean, I went to business school with the intentions of starting my own business. I I've always had a desire of becoming an entrepreneur. Third generation entrepreneur. The namesake of the brand is my grandfather. He started a lumber company. This is his second business in 1939 in the Deep South, right? And so I was able to kind of walk the lumber yards with him. I've had early memories of watching him run a business, and so that just kind of stuck with me. And I knew business school was the path to get there. My parents had always pushed me to go work for someone first. And so once I got into Revlon and then L'Oreal, it just became clear to me as I was developing products for women that there was an opportunity in the men's space in general, more specifically the multicultural men such as myself. And so with all that knowledge, brand management skills, my interactions and close relations with chemists, it just became, kind of natural. So that's why I left.
You touched on your grandfather. He inspired the name of the company. Tell me a little bit more about the man. Tell me about Frederick Benjamin Schumpert. What was he like? What was his values like? How did they carry over into what you're doing now?
Yeah, so he was a man, definitely a family man. I mean, he took my family in for a couple years while we were trying to figure out where we were going to live, and so I was able to live in his house, under his roof, with my mom and dad and brother for several years before we moved into our own place. So I got to spend a great deal of time with him. I remember being in the bathroom watching him, shave the old school way with the big frothy foam in the bowl. I remember also on Fridays after school, we'd stand on the porch and he'd have a stack of envelopes and we'd call out the names of all the employees, and he'd let me hand out, the checks. So all that just kind of stuck with me. But more importantly, though, it was just watching him move and shake in the community. He was, again, I'm from Columbia, South Carolina, so he was small town, but very instrumental in starting one of the first black banks there. And so, he was a man of the community. He built churches. And so, just watching people interact with him, there was that just his appearance, I don't know, he had a way with the community that stuck with me. But then also his appearance. The guy was always with a fedora, always had a cigar, always had a tie, even on Saturdays, you know what I mean? And so it was just that, sensibility that led me to say, I think Frederick Benjamin fits.
One thing I wanted to ask, just around the products that you create. You put a lot of effort into customizing your products, and that's something that we're starting to see a lot of brands start to do that now. Customization is pretty much kind of key to the success of a brand. Companies are trying to make that user experience, that customer experience, kind of their top priority. How much of that is kind of core towards you and your operations of your company?
It's everything. We start from scratch with all of our formulations, and it comes down to what is the issue that we're trying to solve, and then identify those ingredients that are actually causing those issues, and then we write that down, and that's the first conversation we have with a chemist. We're trying to solve a problem. These are the issues, or these are the ingredients that are most common to those issues that the likes of our customers that are in those products that they use. And then we look at, okay, how do we then solve these products with the active natural oils, whether it be hemp seed, clove, nettle, spearmint. And then from there, we take it from there. Whether, and it just all depends on like the type of product. We look at the base, we look at the scent, the viscosity. Again, we start with the problem and then work outwards.
Do you think that's kind of what helps you differentiate yourself from some of these other brands that might not be taking that natural approach, that might not be utilizing natural oils or natural ingredients within their products? Is it that care and that consideration for your customer base that's really just what sets you guys apart?
Well, again, I think what sets us apart as well is like we know who we're targeting, right? So we don't take a blanket approach. We don't view all men as equal when it comes to their skin type, hair type, and skin issues or scalp issues. So we focus on a customer base and then we dive into that. And so we make formulas for them. And then what we find is that even folks outside of that target area are enjoying our products.
Just a little bit more on the products. I've noticed that a lot of products that you have are very simple. Like sometimes you go to a drugstore, you go to a pharmacy, you go to a salon or whatever, you pick up a product, you look at the ingredients, and it's like a laundry list. An insane amount of products have a ton of ingredients, and sometimes you can't even pronounce some of the words that are actually on there. Your products tend to be very simple, very clean. What was your thought process in making products as simple as possible?
That's it, just simple. I think a couple things. The more ingredients you have in your products, the more likelihood that your target will react negatively to those ingredients, especially when it comes to synthetics and chemicals. And just that's kind of part of our value is just simplicity. When we hit it, we stop. You know what I mean? And I think less is always more. I think when it comes to the packaging, we tried that approach. Less is more. Our formulation approach, less is more. Our initiatives, marketing initiatives, less is more. So, that's it, man. Simplicity is again, something that we value in the company. And it goes all the way through, and just the formulations, as simple as we could make them. It's just simple to manufacture, it's simple to explain. The customer can read the label and get it right away. And we just try to keep it simple in terms of usage. Because again, guys are just now becoming like really, really into grooming, right? And I don't feel like, because I'm not looking for anything too complicated when it comes to grooming. I've got a set amount of time, and if I can't hit it in that time, then all likelihood is that product is not for me.
What is your plan, I should say, for Frederick Benjamin Grooming next 3 years, 5 years?
Yeah, so, we're looking at broadening the line. We want to, when it comes to men's grooming, we want to be a one-stop shop, right? And so we'll take our formulation philosophy, all the things that we're doing now, and just expand into different categories, whether it be body care, whether it be skin care, whether it be accessories. So we definitely want to broaden the line. And then two, we want to just increase our points of distribution. We want to make it easy for him to be able to, pick us up at, locally. And so that's what we'll be working on for the next, 5 years. Broadening the line and broadening our footprint for the brand.
So on a personal note, you said you're from Columbia, South Carolina.
I am.
You're a Morehouse man.
Yes, sir.
You went to grad school at Clark Atlanta.
You got it.
Everything about you screams the South, but you're based in Harlem.
Yes.
Why Harlem?
Harlem is an extension of the South. Only because, when I first moved here, my wife's from here. And so she grew up in Harlem. Her family never left Harlem. And I say it's an extension because when I would visit her grandparents, I'd have conversations with the doorman or the maintenance guys, and they were all from South Carolina, you know what I mean? And so it just made sense that back in the day, everyone came north, that I would meet people from, either my state or my city or what have you. But, I didn't first move to Harlem when I came to New York, but, we saw this shift, and, we wanted to be a part of, I hate to use this term, the new Harlem, if you will, and keep Harlem what Harlem is, you know what I mean? So it was just, it was just natural. My wife's from Harlem. She's got a great network. All of my friends were moving from the Upper East Side or downtown to Harlem. And it was just natural. I was still on the island. I was still in Manhattan. It's kind of a village type of atmosphere where people speak and hold the door for you, and you could see like your grandmothers and all the old ladies and gentlemen walking around, and it felt like home in a neighborhood. I've got 2 girls, and so when I walked into school, it was really cool to see some of the old guys and women give me that nod that, right on, brother, the family man, because I guess maybe they didn't see that, so I don't know, Harlem just feels right, man. It just feels right.
You mentioned the new Harlem, and that's a term that I've heard as well. So, but one of the things that I've always heard, and it seems like a lot of people that aren't from New York or don't know too much about Harlem, when they think about it, they think about Harlem as being this kind of like hub for like performance arts, like historically as it always has been. They think about the Apollo, they think about all the performers, artists, musicians, poets, writers that kind of came out of Harlem. But nowadays, you're starting to see startups in Harlem. You're starting to see venture capital firms like springing up in Harlem. You're starting to see multi-million, billion-dollar franchises that weren't here 10 years ago. They're starting to have a presence here. What does it mean for you to have your company growing and being a part of this? Some people call it the new Harlem Renaissance. What does it mean for you to be part of the new Harlem Renaissance?
It means everything. I think Harlem is just a natural fit for the company, what we stand for, who we're serving, and just the new energy in Harlem. For us to be able to soak that up and use that as fuel to drive our business, it just means everything. And we're excited to be a part of it. We're based out of Harlem. We live in Harlem. We work out of Harlem, and it's just an energy that will carry us forward.
I get Frederick Benjamin conditioner.
Wait, do it again.
See, now you just took all the funny out of it.
I know. Okay, do it again. That's funny. You're professional. You can do it again.
That wasn't a conditioner. Wait.
You're a professional. You can handle this. Ain't it?
Hi, I am Tony Rock, world famous comedian. And when my hair get dirty and I got to wash it, I get Frederick Benjamin Grooming. I put it in my hair and put some water in and shake it around, and then the girls be like, look at your hair. I be like, it's Frederick Benjamin. Tell him, Kev.
It's crazy that you say that, Tony, because I just used Frederick Benjamin too. And when I used it, it had my hair just as soft on the top. When I go home, sometimes I shampoo it and then brush it lightly, and it makes my scalp, ooh, so soft. Frederick Benjamin, thank you for being there for me and my friend Tony.